Hi everybody and welcome back to Apple Cottage. I am Suburban Homesteader Wyoming. As always, like, subscribe, and share with the world. Today we are going to make kombucha from scratch. So things that you'll need what they call a Scoby, and that's like a mother. That's what's really going to make kombucha. And I got a little bit of starter. I have 4 cups of water in here, and I'm going to bring that to a boil. To that, I'm going to add 8 tea bags. And as you can see, I got those a little damp, and those are just going to wait until it comes to a boil. And then these tea bags are going to sit in that boiling water for 10 minutes. And then I'll take the tea bags out. You always want to use filtered water. Nothing that has chlorine. Spring water, filtered water, anything like that. And that will make a great kombucha. Now, of course, you can just have plain. And when you very first start, your very first one, you want it to be plain. And then when you go to do your second batch from that, then you can add ginger and rhubarb or strawberry or peaches or whatever flavor that you want. Blueberries, raspberries. It's really endless. You could have strawberry and basil. You could just have whatever you can imagine for flavors. Ginger is always a real good one in kombucha. So I'm going to put that water so that it starts to boil. Then I'll be back and I'll show you the tea bags in it. So my water's boiling, and I'm going to just put those tea bags in there. I'm going to take a wooden spoon, and I'm just going to swish them around a little bit. I find if you dampen the tea bags a little bit before, in fact, do it just before you put the water on to boil, that moisture activates the tea more. And I'm going to set my timer on 10 minutes. Now when you make kombucha, you always have to use glass, never plastic, and you never put a lid on that has any metal. So this is the glass I'm going to do for my starter. So this is going to sit for 10 minutes. Then I'm going to take the tea bags out, add 1 cup of cane sugar. Not regular sugar, not any other kind of sugar, just cane sugar. Then I'm going to mix that up, and I am going to let it cool. The tea bags will be out, so it's just be the sugar tea mixture, and I need it to cool to the temperature of the room. 65, 70 degrees. So remember, kombucha is really just a sugar-sweetened tea that's fermented, that bacteria is working, and so it just gets so wonderful for you. Your entire body will just love it, and it's very satisfying. You can just drink a little teeny bit sometimes, and you just feel full and satisfied because all that good bacteria is just working inside of you. So the tea has set for 10 minutes. So let's go down. I'm going to take my wooden spoon. I'm going to squeeze them a little bit as I take them out. Still very hot. But see what a rich, beautiful tea color that is? Now I think some people use green teas. I have never used a green tea. Now to this, I have to add 1 cup of cane sugar. Not regular sugar, cane sugar. And you can just get this cane sugar all over the place. In fact, sometimes at the dollar store they'll even have it. But as you can see how beautiful those crystals are? And so I'm just going to put that in there. And I'm going to stir that up. Now the process has to let this cool to room temperature. So I'm going to make sure that I dissolve all the sugar in it, and then I'll wait till it's room temperature. So I mixed the sugar all in there. But some things you might not have thought about. You could use maple syrup, guava, honey, a lot of different sweeteners. You're not locked into the cane sugar. So I don't want you to think that if you don't eat or use cane sugar that you can't make kombucha, because you can. And so the other thing about kombucha, a lot of times we just think of it just plain, or we think of things like peaches, pears, you know, all the different things. But don't just think of it that way, because you can also do one with herbs. You could use different kinds of vegetables, combinations of fruits and herbs, fruits and vegetables. It's like an open book when it comes to making kombucha. And so I'm just going to let that cool. It'll probably take an hour or so, and then I'll be back. Now my tea's in my glass jug that I'm going to make my kombucha with. And if you're very impatient of waiting for your tea to cool, there's a couple tricks you can do. You could put a large bowl in your sink, fill it with cold water or cold icy water, put your pan in there and stir it, and it would cool down faster. Some people only use half the water with the tea bags, and as soon as it's boiled or it's set in there for the 10 minutes, then they will just pour the really cold water in there to cool it down. I have a little gun and it tells me the temperature. And so right now mine's at 94.9. That's too warm still, because my Scoby is a living live organism. Your kombucha is a living live organism, and so I need it to be 75 to 80 degrees. So I have to be a little more patient, but it won't take long. So my tea is room temperature now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour my kombucha in there. This is my starter. There's 16 ounces. I'm going to just pouring that in there. Then you're going to put the Scoby in. Now, Scobies are interesting. They're kind of rubbery, and we're just going to put that right in there. Now, sometimes when you first put them in, they'll sink to the bottom, but they'll usually float back up. Now, if they don't float back up after a little while, you really need to get a new Scoby. Now, say you couldn't find a Scoby anyplace. You can actually use vinegar, about 2 tablespoons of vinegar to about a quart of water. Okay, so now I'm just going to fill the rest of it with my filtered water. And I'm basically filling it to the top. Now you never want to put a lid on here. So I just took a dish towel, cut it into 4s, and I'm going to lay that on top. And then I have a rubber band that I'm just going to hook that on so no flies or bugs or dust or whatever can get in there. So then my kombucha is going to sit for at least 7 days. In the summertime when it's nice and warm, it can be finished in 10 days. If it's the middle of winter and your house is cold, it could take months before it's finished. But after about 3 days, I'm going to start tasting it. And when it gets to that taste that I really like, that's when I know it's done. Because sometimes it could take 7 days, it could take 21 days. But I am just going to let this sit. You don't want it in the direct sunlight, but you want to be able to sit it someplace warm. So the kitchen is a perfect spot for it. And I have my rubber band around there, and there's nothing else for me to do. I just have to wait until it's ready. And then I can enjoy it. If I want to add fruit or vegetables or herbs, I do that in my second one. And we'll talk about that, and we'll do some videos on different combinations of what you can do. The Scoby will, if you put it in a jar and it was smaller than the edges of the jar, it will literally grow. And then if it hits those edges, it's going to grow thicker. It could get a ½ inch. I guess it could get 6 inches. I've never seen it that wide, but it can do that. But you don't have to have it thick. That mother can be just a layer or two, and it makes perfect kombucha. And so, this is Sandy at Apple Cottage. This is such a great alternative instead of drinking soda. Everything about it is good for you. It's healthy for you. And it's great tasting. Now, when I get my second batches done, a lot of times people use a flip bottle. I have a lot of these bottles I save. They're from organic sodas. They're made with honey. And I have a little machine that will recap. And so then I can just keep them in here in the refrigerator. If I'm going someplace, or if I just want one, I just take it right out of the refrigerator. It's awesome. So like, subscribe, share with the world, and I will see you with another video about this when it's ready.